Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. First of all, I just want to say thank you guys. I've been in the business of energy and for quite some time, and the lecture today was really, really great. So thank you for organizing it. I don't know if I have the chance to say it later. Um, I want to talk today about the fsight and how we work in the distributed energy market, and specifically, it's a huge domain. So we selected one use case to talk about today. Just a little bit about the fsight. Before that, the fsight was founded on 2015 by leaders in the energy and the telecom domain and the cybersecurity and everything. Um, Basically, it's a mix of a lot of experiences coming together into a single company. Um, we have offices today in Israel, its office and the R&D centers in Israel, in Ukraine, in Austria, in California, and we are keep increasing in size and locations. Tons of projects around the world, from Australia to California, below the ground to the mountains. Any kind of optimization of renewable and standard energy assets. So let me get to the most interesting part. I think it's the products that we have and the solution that we try to solve. Um, Actually, fsight has two kind of family product. The first one, each one of them try to target a different problem in the domain. The first one is fsight predict, which try to work on the problem of how to make the energy domain more predictable. This is one. The second one is how we take assets that are exist or will exist in the future, and to optimize the network internally or externally, behind the meter or to support the grid. But they are very interconnected between them. So in order to explain about the optimize, I need to tell you a little bit about predict, and then we can continue. So the predict platform that we have actually has a capacity and the ability to forecast from single meter to enormous number of meters. Now we have the ability to do that not only as a group of meters, but also bottom up. So we actually have the capability to forecast each one of the meters individually and combine it to one aggregated forecast, what makes it much, much more accurate. This is actually the base to the prediction. Um, we have the ability to do that for consumers. It doesn't matter if it's residential or is it CNI. So we have it for consumers, for generation, any type of generation, and a mix of them. So think of it as 1 meter that you have behind the same meter. You have PV and let's say a factory. So in order to predict it correctly, you need to actually, without knowing that there is, without prior knowledge that there are two kind of pattern there, you need to divide them into PV and to consumption, forecast each of them individually, and then to combine the patterns together in order to forecast it better. And this is what we do on a constant basis. Um, Most of our income today comes from private power producers and electricity providers that need this prediction in order to actually generate enough power not to get fined on one hand and not to waste energy on the other hand. So we provide the forecasting capability and insights on top of it in order to maximize your profits and to reduce costs as much as possible. But the main thing around this product is that it has the ability to forecast in a very, very accurate way the consumption and the generation of the elements that you have in your network. And this allows us to go to the next level and to introduce the optimize, which solve a bit different problem. So let me guide you through to the point that we see what is the problem. We heard today that the price of electricity goes to the skies. We see that there is huge demand for electricity. Specifically, by the way, in Israel, the EV almost triple the amount of energy that a household consumes. That's totally game changer. But on the other hand, we see that there is a huge drop in cost of energy assets. We see it on solar, we see it on batteries, EV, actually everything. And it come to the point that there are some use cases even today without any subsidy that still makes sense to install, let's say, large battery or large storage, any kind of storage, and to work with it in order to optimize and reduce your monthly electricity bills or any kind of charges that you have. So in order to stay in the business and in order to stay profitable, large CNIs, and this is the use case that we are talking about today, large CNIs have to provide a better understand. They need to have a better understanding of the energy that they have today, the energy demand and production. On the other hand, they need to work with that, and they don't know how to do it. What we deliver is a platform that allows them to do two things. And to there are two challenges behind the scene. The first one is, what should they install? Should they install more generators, maybe more PV, maybe a larger battery, maybe UPS, CHP? What do they need to install in order to optimize their use case? That's one. The second thing is, how do you manage it in real time? Because it's not one thing that you set up at day one and it will continue to work the same during the years. The energy assets changes all the time. The prices of the fuel are changing. The capacity of the battery changing. And everything is changing. Even the temperature is changing over time, and it caused dramatic change in the house consumption and the efficiency of the systems. So this is why we provide two kind of solution for those markets, and is the planning and the optimization. And we can break it down into four values. The first one is the planning. And especially what we are looking on is how we help EPCs to approach CNIs and provide them a better planning of what are the energy assets they need to install and what is the capacity of them. And it starts with what is the use case. So the use case could be avoid demand charges. The use case could be there is a limit on the power line that you never need to cross. The use case could be even I just want to be green and I just want to stabilize the network when it needs. So once you start with the use case, you can really tell what are the goals. Because just to do general optimization or like a tumble estimation is not good enough. Now we take the use case and we take the historical data that you already have. If you have it, if you don't, we can simulate it because we know so many factories and so many consumers today that we can actually match a good profile to your needs. And then we take everything together and we design what are the possible solutions for your problem. So you can either select this approach or that approach, maybe a different PV, maybe a different battery. It depends on the cost of the ROI and what are your targets. But basically, we provide you the way to select the right elements at the right sizing. That's one. But once you install it, you need to monitor everything and to use it as a single system, not many systems and many control systems. If you look on that example, let's say that you have a CNI that has a generator, PV, battery, and consumers inside of the CNI. So usually they have like a monitoring system for the generator just to see the fuel level and alerts. The PV system is totally different. It's usually cloud-based that is uh, totally not communicating with the generator. The battery is usually, if you bought it together, so maybe you have a combined system, but usually you don't, especially in retrofit installation. And the consumption that you have is usually a totally different system. So you have a very complex system, and when you're trying to understand why something is not working as you expect it to work, you have no way of doing that. And this is actually one of the things that we provide CNIs. We provide them a single unit that you can see how the energy flows from one element to another and what is the reason for that. On top of that, we can actually generate alerts and reports that makes much more sense because you can see why things happen as they happen and not just to see, okay, the generator produced that amount of energy, the PV produced that amount of energy, and I consumed that amount of energy from the grid. You can really see what is the logic of all the behavior. Now, on top of it, we have another layer, which is the optimization. Now, the optimization is the most complex one, and it required the controlling all those elements together in order to achieve the use case that you want to achieve as a CNI owner. Let's take, for example, a scenario of avoiding demand charges. So you have the ability to use the PV to avoid this demand charge. But what happens if we have a forecast that tomorrow will be a very cloudy day? Okay, so let's use the generator instead. But if you know that there is going to be wind, so we'll use the wind turbine instead and put the generator only on standby in case that you have a degradation in the amount of wind that we anticipate. So how do we do it? We use battery. So everything is combined together. Now, because we have such a great capability of predicting how the consumers and the producer will act, and we have the capability of forecasting the energy market, the prices, we have the ability to build a vector for the next 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever we decide, with all the opportunities along the way. And then we set up the hardware in a way that will optimize into this use case that we just described in the vector. So this allows us to plan ahead and to take the opportunities in the near future based on the forecast that we have. So we don't only apply real-time logic, take the excess energy from the PV and store it in the battery for later use, because every battery cycle costs money. It has its own efficiency. You age the battery. What if you don't need to store it into the battery? Maybe you need to use it for EV charging or to put it into the grid because it still makes more sense to put it there other than use it in the battery, and the cycle cost and the degradation will be more expensive in the long term than just selling it to the grid. So all those decisions are taken care in our optimized layer. And on top of that, we have the ability to help you trade the energy. So basically, buying and selling energy from your system to the external world and back to your system. It really depends. There are several markets of doing it: primary market, secondary market, arbitrage. It doesn't really matter because we modelize the system in a way, in this time series, and we know what are the opportunities. You can select which opportunity you will participate and will in which you will avoid. So is it really possible, and is it profitable? I think that the lecture before was amazing, and definitely yes, it is possible. The cost of energy in optimized system is dramatically lower than a system that is non naive, as he mentioned. Um, I, I don't think that we can describe it even better. Um, Basically, it means that it doesn't really matter which use case you're taking. um, Optimization play a huge role in it, and if you don't have the optimization, you will end up with something that it doesn't make any financial sense or energy optimization sense. um, I think that if we look at the product that we have, we can separate it, as I said before, into two sections. Um, Optimized Planner is mostly about what is the energy asset mix that you need, and what is the size of it. We'll not get into the demo now, but it gives the mostly EPCs and smart entrepreneurs in the domains to approach CNIs and other large consumers with an offering. Okay, this is your historical data that you have on your system. This is what we know about you. This is what are the prices of the batteries that we have. Just drag and drop the data that you have to the system. We identify the format automatically, and if not, we can generate it very easily, the new formats. We provide you the business case of why it makes sense and what are the permutations, what are the solutions that makes sense, and you need to select between all those what is the best for you. For example, there are some customers that require the best ROI for the project. Some customers prefer, if they look ahead for 10 years or 15 years, to have the maximum profit, which is totally different than the best ROI. So this platform allowed them to get the best uh, mix of energy assets to achieve their use case. This is one. After we do the installation of the hardware and do complete the integration, and we have integration with most common hardware in the market, batteries, generator, whatever, we take all the elements, including all the data that the CNI can provide us, even factory shifts, and then we can understand the pattern of the consumption and the generation. And from that, we deliver this vector, this plan ahead for the future, and send the commands to the hardware in real time. There are some cases that we do everything from cloud to cloud. There are several use cases that we install the hardware on site, and then we send the commands to this hardware, and this hardware populate the commands to the system locally. This hardware usually also collect the telemetry and send it back to us to feed the engine again and again. So it's not a plan that we plan, let's say, 24 hours in advance and then we leave it. Every time slot, every window that we set, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 hour, we keep updating the forecast for the next 24 hours or 48 hours, send it again, and then we have the plan ready for even if we have a communication blackout, it will still work as planned. I don't know if you see the screen, but there it is. So basically, we have it's a life cycle of the complete system. It starts with the optimized planner. We get all the information, the EPCs or the entrepreneur doing the most of the work, collecting the data, put it into our setup. If he's missed some of the data, we will simulate the data for him, and then we generate the plan. And then it goes to the second part, the real-time aspect of the system, where we actually manage it and feed back the data into our system, and we optimize it over and over and over during the day and during the time that we have. We are working in a monthly subscription base. It's usually the easiest for the planner and for the real time. So planner is mostly, as I said, for EPC and entrepreneurs that are domain. So this is one, and the second product is the real time. And of course, it's there is some kind of customization fee if needed, but if not, it's just a monthly base. Of course, we have it's a very unique one, a very unique system. We have patents all the way from how to detect the PV, how to forecast it, not only PV, but in energy assets in general, how you manage the distributed the energy system, and how everything works together. It's not covered in here, but we also have future abilities, or we are working on feature abilities that allow you to cooperate between several sites and things like that. But we'll talk about it, I think, on a different session because it's a totally different use case. Questions?
Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot for showing us what your company has achieved since its founding. It's actually quite interesting, and you will see this in the questions now. I think many people saw your company for the first time, and it's quite obvious from the questions that they were checking what is written on your homepage. So both of the questions refer to that. So the first one is, how is your experience with the model energy community you mentioned on your website?
That's that's the thing that I started to mention about the future capabilities that we are working on. Communities did not raise in the pace that we anticipated it will raise. This is why it's not one of our, let's say, the product that we push into the market strongly. It is something that we work on, and we have some experience with that. There is one community that are currently working, and one that is on the back end, somewhere in the back. But we didn't see much point of putting it right now into the market. But we do have some experience with that. If you want, you can just drop me an email. I'll put my email in here. Drop me an email, and I'll be happy to share more information and maybe something that is more interesting into your use case.
Okay. This also goes for any type of information you have to share with the audience. Just send us the link, and we will include it in the mailing which goes out once the event has concluded.
Sure.
So last but not least, in which sectors do you see the highest demand, and how has it shifted due to the current crisis? I think this is a reference to the quite high number of, let's say, corporate clients you list on your homepage.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I think that at some point we try to reach CNIs and residentials and everything, but at some point, few months ago, something happened, and CNI started to contact us for the first time, and it wasn't just one of them, and it seems to be a starting of a trend that CNIs have the capital to invest in the batteries, the large batteries, and they are not afraid from such a huge projects, and they are planning ahead. If you have a factory that you have a forecast for the next 10, 15 years, it's fine to do a project like that in that scale, that you can invest $2-3 million in order to achieve your goals. So this is one of the highest, and I don't know, it's exploding right now as I see it. The CNI is definitely, and the battery in behind the meter is booming. How is it shifting? I think that it's very hard for me to answer the second question because I'm not really aware. I don't know how it will affect. The effect will be happening in I think in a month, 2 months from now. I don't think that we see it right now. What we see right now is a complete chaos in forecasting of energy in Europe. This is what we see right now, especially when we have a very high presence in Ukraine, which is totally madness right now. But I think that we, in a month or two, we'll be able to tell more about how it really changes.
Okay, great. So yeah, thanks a lot for that. To the people that further had questions, and with regard to time management, you can always contact Nir on the B2Match platform where he is registered, or most likely on LinkedIn or via the contact data you provided in the presentation.
And maybe we have to clarify this. The company name is fsight, so f-site, because there was a question coming in whether it's slido.com. Maybe that's a hiccup, yeah. So Nir Nitzani from fsight, please get in touch directly, and thank you so much for taking the time and being a part of our conference today.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.